Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thanks for sticking around for the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh along with my trophy here. I'll be joined by Chris Mueller in a matter of moments at the 93.7 The Fan Cam. See this trophy? This is the Bravado 14 member guest champion, and you're looking at him along with Robert Morris, athletic director Chris King. We won it a couple weeks ago. We were presented with the trophy today, so I figured I'd put it on display here for everyone to see. Wow. You know, Bravado 14, by the way,
on all your success.
A private, exclusive private club here in Pittsburgh. Curtis Aiken, I think, who is the best point guard to ever play at Pitt, owns the place. So it's a fabulous golf event, and we had a fabulous time, especially because we won this beautiful trophy that we get to keep for the next year, Chris. Maybe I'll bring you
Richie,
as my guest
I'm
next
proud
year.
Of you.
What's your handicap?
I'm just very proud. What's my handicap?
Yeah, I think you might be a good.
12.2.
I think you would be a really good partner in this, and maybe we can keep the trophy for another year.
Richie, 12.2, but I'm falling. I'm going in the wrong direction. It's going back down, possibly to single digits if current trends persist. So I know you wouldn't. I know me at a 12.2 is much more appealing than me at, say, a 9.1, for example, in one of these situations. And unfortunately, I'm playing better golf and actually recording my scores honestly, which means I would not be a good partner in some of these situations.
Well, yeah, not many people do that. That's for sure. I played okay, but my partner, he played really well, Chris King. So, you know, I'm happy to have this trophy for the next year. So we're going to leave it here because I want to brag a little bit about it. So if anyone wants to call about it, we're taking your phone calls tonight, 412-575-2600. All right, Chris, our Penn West live question of the night, which you can respond to, and you can also scan that QR code in the right-hand corner of your screen. Who is the better player? Micah Parsons just got traded today to Green Bay, obviously the biggest news in sports. TJ Watt or Micah Parsons? I would imagine our audience would think TJ Watt, but what is your honest answer?
I think Parsons is better. I think it's easy to say that right now, too, because Watt, just in particular, is coming off his worst season since his rookie year. I don't really think that's arguable either. You can be a huge TJ Watt fan and acknowledge that for the last month plus last year, including the playoffs, he just kind of disappeared. And in the playoff game, he completely disappeared, just an empty stat line. He's already 30. He is a guy that they're talking about this year, trying to unlock by actually moving him around the field instead of just planting him across from the opposing right tackle and letting him go to work. Well, Parsons, you will remember, Richie, came into the league as an off-ball backer, and the Cowboys just realized so quickly that he was way too good to just use in that context. He was too good at getting to the passer that they kind of made him a jack of all trades, just a true defensive weapon lining up wherever. I do think Parsons is a little bit better than TJ Watt. He's younger, which in this equation actually matters. You can expect Parsons to be pretty much entering his true prime right now for probably the next 3 to 4 years. I would say Watt just exited his prime, even though he might have a couple really good years left. I don't think you're ever going to see peak TJ Watt again. And so while this is not a popular opinion, and both guys are on an early Hall of Fame track, or in Watt's case, a more advanced Hall of Fame track, I do think Parsons is the slightly better player right now.
So, you know, I have two questions here. I'm going to start with who won this trade?
I think the Packers won it. I mean, I don't think there's a question. I think it's a great deal for Green Bay. I think it is a pretty bad deal for Dallas. We know now that Jerry Jones, who loves nothing more than making sure there's a camera and a microphone in front of him at all times, and should probably have the Cowboys taken away from him for the good of the franchise, at least his daily control as de facto GM. He said that they need to, quote, stop the run, and that's why they got Kenny Clark, and that he wanted Parsons to play on the fifth-year option. That's dumb business. That's essentially giving away, you know, you say if you're the team that gives away the better player in a trade, they're the best player in a trade, you lost the trade. I know it's a little different in the NFL because draft picks are so wild card and you have no idea what you're going to get. Green Bay makes the playoffs pretty much every year. They have under Jordan Love since he became the starter. So these first-rounders are probably picks in the 20s. Kenny Clark's a nice player, but, man, he isn't even – let's not even talk about him in the same stratosphere or close to it as Micah Parsons. This is a trade that instantly makes the Packers a bona fide Super Bowl contender and possibly the prime challenger to the Eagles in the NFC. And it makes the Cowboys one of the really, I think, worst teams, certainly on the defensive side in the NFL. That's how much weight kind of bearing Parsons was doing. I mean, he was like a support beam holding up an otherwise very unimpressive defense. It's a mass. If I were grading this, Rich, I think that's the easiest way to do it. The trade's an A, if not an A+, for the Packers, in my opinion, and it's probably a D for the Cowboys for dumb.
I think this proves, and I think it's only because of age, that I don't think the Steelers would have gotten 2 first-round picks for T.J. Watt if they looked into a trade before they signed him.
No, I mean, they would not have. I can confidently say that. Now, if they look into a trade of T.J. Watt, let's say, before the start of last season, so maybe you get him for all of 2024. If you're the trading partner, you might get a first-rounder. But Parsons is an ultra-premium player, still in his mid-20s. Yes, they were going to have to pay him, and they gave him a market-setting deal, obviously, at $47 million per in the average annual value. But he was like the only kind of guy that was going to get you 2 firsts. I'm not even sure. I know everyone has this insanely inflated opinion of Myles Garrett, like he's the best defensive player since Reggie White, which I would disagree with, by the way. I don't even think he, at his age, would get 2 first-round picks. I think Parsons was the most tradable or would fetch the biggest return of any defensive player in the league right now. And so I think the Cowboys probably could have done better by trying to find a team that had earlier first-round picks or was presumably going to get earlier first-round picks in return because they weren't going to be very good this year. Instead, I think they got a mild return, maybe by comparison, for a guy that I think is a top 3 player in the league on that side of the ball. So yeah, and I just, to be clear, I think Watt gets you like a second and maybe a fourth, or a second and a third if you tried to trade him this past offseason. I think a second is the absolute most you'd get for a guy who's 30 with 1 year left on the deal, et cetera.
I see your point. I might differ a little bit. I think they maybe could have got 1 first, but you know, I hate to speak in hypotheticals, but that's what we do on this show. Say they didn't sign Watt. Would you have been fine with the Steelers giving up 2 first-round draft picks for a guy like Micah Parsons?
No, I wouldn't have been fine because, my God, they've invested enough money in the defense over the last, 7 years, let's say, going really back since they traded a first-round pick to get Minkah Fitzpatrick in a last-ditch effort to save a season that was already swirling the drain. This team has been allergic to just drafting a blue-chip quarterback, surrounding that blue-chip quarterback with really elite offensive coaching and with a philosophy emanating from the head coach that prioritizes that quarterback. So, no. If they had traded 2 first-round picks to go get Micah Parsons and had not extended T.J. Watt, I would have said it was the height of foolishness. Green Bay might be a pure edge rusher like that away from winning a Super Bowl. The Steelers need the quarterback. They need to take a first-round quarterback next year. I would have panned them to no end had they done what the Packers did, because they're 2 franchises in very different spots with very different needs.
Yes, and the Packers have a quarterback. I mean, the Steelers have a quarterback, at least for this year, maybe, we think, if he holds up, but they don't have a future quarterback, an organizational, franchising, changing type quarterback is something they need. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night. New Packers linebacker Micah Parsons is one of 2 NFL players to have at least 12 sacks in each of his first 4 seasons. The other was Reggie White, so some pretty good company there for Micah Parsons, the former Penn State star. All right, Chris, we're going to go out to the phone lines. We got Frank out in Taylorstown. How you doing, Frank?
For you.
Frank, you there?
Johnny Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Hey, I have 2 questions for you. Is Johnny Smith ready to play week 1 for us? And secondly, ESPN is pushing Garrett from Nussmeier from LSU as someone that we would think about picking as a quarterback next year. I don't think he's that athletic, but I wanted to get you guys' opinion on him.
All right, starting with Jonnu Smith, he's going to play week 1. He's healthy. He's ready to go. He's looking forward to playing with Aaron Rodgers, and I think he can help this offense. I still think they need another number 2 receiver, but they're going to go with what they have right now, and hopefully you're banking on Roman Wilson having stepping in there and being that guy. So I still think they need an upgrade, and maybe they'll get it at some point. I don't know where you get it, but they do have some money. They're under the cap by, $25-30 million right now. So they have some money that they could spend. As for the quarterbacks, I mean, I think it's too early to tell because you see guys rise to the top of the list in the middle and late in the college football season. But I wouldn't discount Drew Aller. I don't know what you think about him, but there's a handful of guys. It's a good quarterback group, and they're probably definitely, I would think, the odds are they're going to draft a quarterback in the first round next year.
I'll go point by point. I'll take your word on Jonnu Smith. You're around that team a lot more. He's barely done anything since he got here, Rich, so I really hope he's healthy because it seems like there's been a pretty lingering soft tissue thing going on. The fact that he has done so little, like mostly individual work, gives me considerable pause. Like I said, I'll take your word for it, but that one seems like a potentially troubling situation.
But you're right, those soft tissue injuries, they linger, and we've seen that.
We've seen it as recently as last year. It seems like it happens with somebody once a year with this team, if not more often. So that's the first thing. Second, I don't think they have anywhere near that much cap room. At last check, I think they're a little bit constrained in some of the things that they can do to try to add a wide receiver. I think it would have to be a move that's more depth-oriented, but they don't seem to be all that interested in doing that. Third, Nussmeier, I think, here's my read on him, and I'm going to try to do a lot more watching of LSU. I mean, he's got a showcase game against Cade Klubnik, another potential first-rounder in Clemson. Like the arm, I think it's a big arm. I think he checks a lot of the boxes you would want for a quarterback. He's not the biggest dude. He's maybe in that 6'1.5", 6'2" range, so good enough size, not elite size. I think for me, the thing that maybe hamstrings him is this. Lenoris Sellers is the prototype athlete and everything else, has plenty of a big arm, can run, is a little bit more of a Josh Allen runner than he is a Lamar Jackson runner, and you can kind of see boundless potential. Then there's an Arch Manning who, if he's as advertised, is going to go 1-1, who's probably not in your tax bracket, so to speak. Nussmeier just doesn't have maybe a trait that I've seen at least yet that jumps off the page to me. I think he is a good at pretty much everything guy. I don't know if he's great. And so I think that's why he seems like something of a mystery to people. But I'd suggest if you're here and you're in Pittsburgh and you're watching and you're wondering who the Steelers might take at quarterback, make sure you watch LSU Clemson and start forming some opinions on some of these guys.
Yeah, Chris, I do want to correct myself. I misspoke. I think they're 10 to 12 million. And I said 25.
Yeah,
so
that sounds a little bit more in line.
Million.
If they were 25,
yeah.
Cam Hayward would have gotten his money. It'd have been like an episode of Oprah. But you get some money, and you get some money.
I think they can clear up space to get to a number if they wanted to bring a receiver in here that wanted to come here, or they could somehow swing
I don't think they're that desperate. Honestly, I think in their own minds, and I'm not passing judgment as to whether I think they should feel desperate. I just don't think they are feeling that way, because if they did, I think they would have just made sort of a questionable signing. They would have just said, screw it, Gabe Davis is here, sure, why not? We'll give that guy a chance. But they seem to believe, I think, quietly, that they're going to have enough depth behind Metcalf and they're going to have all these tight ends playing and they're not going to be a conventional wide receiver-based passing attack.
What if it turns out to be like last year? I mean, you have to go out and get – don't you think Aaron Rodgers will petition to bring someone in here then?
I mean, you would think, but apparently they like Allen Lazard right where he is with the Jets, so that's not going to happen. I think if Roman Wilson obviously had an actual rookie season where he played, you'd probably feel a lot better about this. I think Rodgers is like cautiously optimistic that Wilson's going to be good, but I get the sense, Rich, that there's two reasons you could feel like you need to get a second wide receiver or a wide receiver 2 type guy. One is because you want to build your passing attack that way and you just need somebody better. 2, and I think this is the more likely one for the Steelers, you just want to have depth in case of injury. And so that is, I think, their sort of MO here. That's why they haven't pushed too hard, and that's why they might just roll the dice and say, we hope DK Metcalf stays healthy. If he doesn't, then we might be in big trouble.
Something like, and you would think that Aaron Rodgers is going to treat DK Metcalf kind of like Devontae Adams a little bit?
I mean, to a degree, I think he's going to get the overwhelming target share among their wide receivers. And then I really believe that if you asked Arthur Smith and you said, position agnostic, what they are on the depth chart doesn't matter. These are just all the eligible receivers you have. List them in order 1 through whatever it would be, 12, 10. First would be Metcalf. Second would probably be Freiermuth. Third would be Jonnu Smith. Fourth might even be Jaylen Warren, depending on some, dump-off situations, swing passes, what have you. And then you might have to get to, like, number 5 on that list before you got to another wide receiver like a Roman Wilson. So I just think internally that's probably how Arthur Smith and how Aaron Rodgers view the structure and the setup and everything else of their offense.
All right, let's go out to Michael in Beaver Falls. How you doing, Michael?
Well, good evening, Richie, Chris. How y'all tonight?
Good. Thanks for calling.
Hey, you know what? I feel so confident the Steelers are going to have an excellent year this year that I even made some pole lights in the colors of the Steelers with the yellow bulb on top. And do you think that the Steelers are at least going to win 13 games this season, guys?
No, geez, I would bet the under on that. I don't know about you,
I love
Chris.
it when Michael's
the optimist for sure.
I love it when he calls. He always is. The optimism is very genuine. It's a nice counterweight to my relentless cynicism and skepticism. He always believes it. I imagine that when they win, he's elated. He feels like that's proof of concept. And I got a feeling, Richie, that when the Steelers lose, it's water off a duck's back from Michael in Beaver Falls. That's why I am very jealous of his attitude when he calls in.
Hey, Chris, we have a tweet here. Do you think Jerry Jones, just from Mark, is trying to duplicate his Herschel Walker trade from the '89 season with this one? I have been watching that Netflix series. It's pretty good, but I don't think you can duplicate that trade.
No, I mean that one. No. Just not happening. He's dealing a player in his absolute prime who has probably, and I'm being conservative here, I don't know, 5 to 7 more very good to great years left. And he's getting back what will probably be picks in the 20s and a defensive lineman. And the best he could muster was, we're looking to stop the run. Okay, buddy. You know what I saw on Twitter when I looked around? Fans of the Giants, the Commanders, and the Eagles wishing Jerry Jones 50 more years of great health and wellness so that he could stay on the job as Cowboys owner and de facto GM. So they want him to live till he's 130. That's how little they think of the work that he's doing.
Real quick, are the Cowboys a playoff team?
No, they stink. Their offense should be a lot of fun, though. Draft Dak and CeeDee Lamb and everybody else in fantasy. They'll be playing catch-up a lot.
All right, thanks a lot, Chris. I'm going to have a party with my trophy. I'll have you come over, and you can drink out of it, too. Hey, we'll see you next week. Hopefully we see you on KDKA News coming up next.